The only way to stop Lazio? Postpone the match. This is Lazio Lounge.
Lukaku, occhio che ha messo il turbo Lukaku, occhio che ha messo il turbo Lukaku, Lukaku, alla di rigore, gol! 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 3-2 Murcia, l'ha messa dentro Murcia, dentro, 3-2, l'ha piazzata lui, la Nouvelle Vague bianco-celeste, Lukaku ha fatto quello che ha voluto, Murcia l'ha messa dentro, Inzaghi l'ha messa dentro, tutti l'abbiamo messa dentro, guardiamoci tutti in faccia, 3-2!
Welcome everybody to another episode of Lazio Lounge. This time we're going to talk about Lazio versus the weather, unfortunately. How are you, Alasdair? Is it raining there?
Well, this is the thing. I'm sitting here in Edinburgh in Scotland, a country famous for its bad weather, and it's been absolutely beautiful sunshine all day. And then try and settle down to watch the Lazio game, and it's all kicking off in Rome. So, yeah, it's that's the thing I find about Italy is that usually it's very nice weather, but when it does rain, it rains very, very seriously.
I don't know if someone recalls, but I think all the time Lazio's playing against Udinese is pouring down in Rome. I don't know if there's something about it, but it's simply unbelievable.
Yeah, it's such a shame when this happens as well. I mean, it seems to happen in so many Serie A games throughout the season. But yeah, I mean, we were talking a little bit before we came on air about the fact that I suppose when this happens, you are capable of putting a positive spin on it. But for me, it's really, really frustrating just because of the timing. You know, today we saw Inter and Napoli drop points, so it was a perfect opportunity to actually jump up in the table. And the form Lazio are in at the moment, the fact that we rested so many players for Nice on Thursday means that there's no reason not to expect another win. So, yeah, it's a bit frustrating because you just don't know how things will be when we actually get round to playing this game.
Yeah, we opened a poll before going live about this. What do you think? Are you happy? Are you sad, etc.? For the moment, 41% of our voters said that they are sad because Lazio was in good form, but 36% say it's better because Immobile wasn't in great shape. He was half injured, something like that. And the 23 said doesn't change nothing. Don't know. Do you believe it doesn't change nothing postponing a match like that?
Well, like I just said, it entirely depends on when it's postponed to and the situation Lazio are in at this time. I mean, I think you always want to be playing games when you're on a good run of form, and Lazio's form at the moment is absolutely unstoppable. So now we're going into an international break. So in terms of resting Ciro Immobile, I wouldn't be too bothered about him playing today because now we've got obviously he'll be playing with Italy, but it's not like we've got another 2 games within a week, Lazio games. So yeah, for me, I would always like to play the games when you're in form, and we just don't know what position Lazio are going to be in when it comes around.
For me, the most important thing is the pitch condition, because in a pitch very heavy, I think the quality disappears. So especially, you have Luis Alberto, you have Immobile, that are very fast but not very physical, and so they could struggle in a situation like that. That's for me the most important thing. Playing with a heavy condition, with a heavy pitch, it's not very good for that type of players. At the same way, but you have to remember that you have Milinkovic-Savic that have a nice physical body, and De Vrij, etc. So they could have a little bit advantage, but as well, a very heavy pitch could be very dangerous for injuries and things like that. So,
Yes. It's a really good point, actually. I mean, particularly the style of football the Lazio are playing this season with, passing out from the back, keeping the ball on the ground. If you're playing on a pitch that's going to hold the ball up and stop it from moving the way you'd expect, it would leave you, particularly playing out from the back, leave you at danger of one of those passes falling short or being caught out by a striker. And so, yeah, I think you're right. You do want the pitch to be in the right conditions to play, particularly a team like Lazio, who are playing such a good brand of football. I think you're right. We wouldn't be very well suited to a kind of physical fight in the rain kind of thing.
Yeah, especially with a team like Udinese that will probably come to Rome and place the bus in front of the goal and say, you play, we will only try to defend. With that type of weather, it's going to be easier for them and more complicated for Lazio to score and find a way of playing football. So you never know. But at the same time, everything can happen. Maybe Lazio would have scored in the first 5 minutes and then the match is completely another thing. So you never know in this situation. Of course, for me, the most important thing is the pitch. Heavy pitch, I don't believe it would help Lazio.
Yeah, and I think the players would probably agree with that as well. There was that a little video clip going around on social media while we were waiting for the referee's decision of Stefan Radu just wagging his finger at the referee saying, no, we can't play in these conditions. And the other thing as well is the argument about the style of football and Udinese's style. I think you don't want to risk any injuries as well. So, if the ground's very soft, that could potentially be a danger in terms of people not being prepared for the conditions they're playing in. And given the injury problems that we've already had this season, that's definitely something you don't want to risk happening. So, those are all... I think it's the right decision. I'm not disputing it's the right decision for a moment. It's just frustrating that it's happened today.
Yep. Do you have your 30 seconds or I start this time?
You can start this time.
Okay, I will use my 30 seconds for a promotion message. Do you think you are a top player but Jurgen Klopp doesn't see you? Do you think you have the quality but in 1 year with Liverpool you played only 5 minutes? Call Iglitare now. Iglitare and Simone Inzaghi will change your life forever. For more info, call Luis Alberto and Lucas Leiva.
I wish I'd gone first now because I'm not going to be able to follow that.
Well, I mean, is it wrong? You took 2 subs from Liverpool. Luis Alberto, they sent him back into Spain because he couldn't play. And now he's been called to the national team.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was actually planning on talking about in my 30 seconds.
No, sorry.
Alberto's call-up. But, I mean, you're right. It's, these deals have... You've mentioned this before, actually, the fact that one of the key things about Tare's transfers this summer is bringing in, and before, I suppose, in terms of Alberto, is players who are hungry and have a point to prove. And you can see that with these guys so much. And, Lucas Leiva obviously has a point to prove because he wants to show he's not finished, which he definitely isn't. But that seems to be the way that a lot of particularly fans of English football would view him because he's not been playing much there for the last few years. So, yeah, absolutely.
He's looking to go back to the national team thanks to Lazio. Who knows?
Well, I was asked about this on Twitter earlier this week. I haven't seen the Brazil squad though. Has it been brought out yet?
I didn't see it too, so I don't think so. Which is weird. Maybe they're not playing because there's friendly match only.
Yeah. I know they've got a game against England, but I think, I mean, it's definitely his form for Lazio has definitely put him back in consideration for a Brazil call-up, which is, not an easy thing to achieve, I think, given the depth of talent they have available. But exactly the same can be said about Spain. I mean,
even worse.
How hard is it for an attacking midfielder as well to get into a Spain team? The competition there is crazy, so it says a lot.
Absolutely. So I burn your 30 seconds, or you have a plan B?
Right. Well, you're gonna have to give me 5 minutes to think of a plan B.
Okay, I will tell this thing. I was talking before the announcement of the Spanish squad with my with the Real Madrid correspondent of Goal.com, who follows even the Spanish team, and I said, "Hey, what do you think about Luis Alberto? Do you think he's gonna be called up?" And he said, well, he's playing well, but I don't think they're going to change, especially as they already qualified to the World Cup. And then 10 minutes afterwards, it comes out. So, it was a little bit funny. But, I mean, the most important things there are the quotes of the Spanish manager, who said that Luis Alberto is playing very well, and this is the perfect moment to call him. So it's good to see that managers of big national teams like Spain are watching Lazio, and players like Luis Alberto that I think wasn't in the radar of the Spanish national coach, because he hardly played in the last 2 years. So I think that's good.
Yeah, and it's so rarely, well, not so rarely, but quite often with national teams, you find that coaches, I mean, this is something I'm sure Italians will say about Ventura as well, they won't necessarily pick based on form. They'll have their favourites and certain players they go to. So despite the fact that to us as Lazio fans who are watching Alberto every week, it probably doesn't seem nearly as obvious to Spanish fans to have Alberto called into the squad. So I think the national coach deserves a lot of credit for that. I think it's quite a brave decision in a way because, like I mentioned before, they've got an unbelievable kind of wealth of options in midfield. So it's great to see him get recognition, which obviously is, we'll all agree, completely deserved.
Absolutely. First question, Nigel Gann, that asking question: how can we stop the rain? Nigel, we don't know. It looks like it was stopping around 4 p.m. at Rome, but then it should have started again around 6, 7. So, you will, even starting then, probably they wouldn't have enough time to drain the pitch and then to start because it was raining afterwards. So I don't know. It's as we were saying before, it's not the first time that happened against Udinese. We'll play in Scotland.
Well, that was going to be my suggestion. How you stop the rain? Get all the players on a flight, take them over here, nice blue skies. Problem solved.
Yep.
I have a 30-second idea now. By the way.
Okay, good. Okay, your turn.
Okay, tell me when.
Start.
Okay, so Felipe Luis has come to mind. Having watched the Nice game, I think we'll agree that the Nice game on Thursday wasn't the best, most exciting game to watch, but it was actually well worth a watch just for Felipe Luis's performance, because this is a guy we didn't expect to see much of this season, didn't really think he'd get much game time, and we were a bit worried about his how he would fit in. But he was, I would say, the best player on the pitch against Nice, and it's one of the most encouraging performances from any player I think we've seen in the individual performance this season.
Time over, just in time. Yeah, he was voted man of the match, so I think he deserved it. I think he really played well against even Balotelli, who scored today, so proved that he's on form. Again, as you were saying, great big surprise. We were talking about Luis Felipe in August, saying that this was just a sort of cheap option for Lazio for a replacement of Hood. Instead, things are going really well. He's playing well, even in a big match like that one. So, really surprised. Again, you have to give credit both to Iglitare and Simone Inzaghi there.
Well, I don't think you do need to give credit to Iglitare for this. I mean, in terms of bringing in the player, yes, but I don't think he can sit back and take plaudits for the fact that Luis is impressing, because it definitely wasn't the situation we were supposed to be in. So, I mean, Inzaghi made that quite clear after Wesley Hoedt left in the summer, was that he needed a replacement. He wanted someone else to come in, and that, that's one of the reasons why his performances have been so encouraging, really, is because we didn't really expect anything, because he hardly got a ringing endorsement from Inzaghi before the season started. So, yes, I think credit Tari for the fact he's at the club, but no, I wouldn't credit Tari for him performing well this season, because nobody really expected it, I suppose.
Okay. Shall we talk a little bit about the match against Nice? I think there are a couple of things, not good things, to talk about. starting with Caicedo, I was shocked, let's put it like that, by his performance. He gave me the impression he didn't want to play. He wasn't pushing that much. And Lazio wasn't dangerous, I think, most of all because he didn't do nothing to try to score. He was so good in France as he was bad in Rome last Thursday. It looks like he was injured. He got injured at the end, but I don't think that this justifies his bad performance.
No, yeah, I think you're right. It is. I mean, at the same time, you've got to say that when these results happen to teams like Juventus, the reaction is always the same. It's always the mark of a good team is when you get a result without playing well, and that's exactly what happened to Lazio. They still somehow managed to win that game, despite the own goal. I think Lazio managed to win that game without having a shot on target of their own. But yeah, I mean, Caicedo, that was a bit concerning. I would also throw Nani into that, actually, Vittorio, because we were singing his praises last week, saying that after he'd come off the bench in the last couple of games, that was my 30 seconds, saying that now he's putting pressure on Inzaghi to actually give him a chance from the start. I think that was a really, really big chance for him against Nice to make an impression in that game, and I don't really think he managed to do that. And I found that quite disappointing, as well as, like you say, Caicedo's performance was that Nani didn't really stamp his authority on the game and ended up getting substituted. I don't know if you agree with that assessment, though.
It was my second point. I'm not I don't know still, because in the first half, like it happened in France, they didn't pass the ball too often to Nani. And probably, with Luis Alberto, etc., both players want to have the ball on their feet, so it's not going to be easy to communicate there. But I thought that he wasn't brilliant, of course, but maybe give him the ball a little bit more. He can do something better. But as you said, I think Lazio had just one shot on target Thursday, so it wasn't only Caicedo to play badly. I think in general Lazio didn't shine on Thursday, and probably Nani and Caicedo were the worst player there. Again, I don't know if it's because he was tired, he didn't get enough ball or enough chances, but he played so well on Sunday and in Nice, and he didn't play well on Thursday, so it's going up and down. I don't know why, and this is a question, Mark. And don't forget that if Immobile is not fit today, probably Nani is starting in his place today.
They need to take those chances, though. I mean, we've got these Europa League group games now. We've qualified as group winners already, so I think that the good thing is having those last two games against Vitesse and Zulte Waregem is that it's a kind of no pressure opportunity for these players to actually just go and play without any real expectation. But they need to, they need to make an impression in these games if they're going to have a chance of getting in the team. The other kind of point I'd like to bring up about that game as well is how clear it was that Luis Alberto is far more of a danger when he's moved up the pitch behind the striker. You can see it's quite clear by now that Inzaghi is planning on using Alberto in the kind of midfield three, given how many times he's moved him there already. And he started there against Nice, but it was only when he got shifted further up the pitch in the second half that you saw him get a bit more space and freedom. And he said that after the game as well. He said that he likes playing in a more advanced role because he gets more freedom, and it's quite, but he doesn't really get the freedom to create in that role. So I think that might take a bit of time for him to get used to that position, if it's what's going to happen when Anderson's back, when Nani's trying to get in a starting spot as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because if the plan of Inzaghi is playing Luis Alberto in a three midfielder with in front Nani, Felipe Anderson, and Immobile. Question number one is Milinkovic-Savic in the starting 11 still? And two, isn't a team too out of balance with too many players attacking and not enough defending? But of course, I think it's very interesting, very intriguing solution from Inzaghi, because it's going to be very complicated for another team to play against a Lazio with this formation. So I don't know. A part of me say it's too much. Lazio should have a little bit more of balance, so one of the three shouldn't play. But on the other side, seeing how Lazio is performing, I would be really interesting to see it once. But I'm not sure against a big team. I would say rather more against a small team.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine a team with Marasic and Lukaku on the side, Alberto and Milinkovic-Savic in midfield, Nani and Anderson behind Immobile? I mean, that's absolutely crazy kind of forward power you've got there, and it's asking a lot from Lucas Leiva in the middle to be basically responsible for tidying everything up himself. So I'm not convinced Inzaghi would go that gung ho. I think Inzaghi's a very astute manager tactically, and he likes to shift things around. We've praised before the way that he's been flexible and adapted this kind of 3-5-2, 3-4-1-1, call it what you will, system. So I think that he's not likely, in my mind, to throw all these players into one team together, unless perhaps it was, say, the last Europa League group game and he wanted to experiment with it. But even so, I doubt he'd do it for 90 minutes.
Yeah, I agree, but I can see it happen in the last 20 minutes of a match that maybe Lazio's losing or Lazio have to win and they're still not winning. I believe that could be a very interesting option. And I think you can start from the last minutes and then see if the thing's going so well. Maybe you can replicate from the beginning in some conditions, in some type of matches. But it's something that for sure intrigues. And you have to remember that both Felipe Anderson last year and Luis Alberto this year have proved that they can defend, they can do the other phase. They're not only good attacking. So I'm not saying that it's something that you can do all the time, but it's something that you can try, and it's gonna be interesting, especially if Felipe Anderson and Luis Nani play at the top. They go back to the top form. They're going to be unstoppable there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all excited by the prospect of seeing how that's going to work. I think, though, you kind of need these guys to be on form as well, because you can't really account for Immobile keeping up this form all season. He's come out absolutely flying this season, and obviously he's been one of the best strikers in Europe. But we can't rely on him, scoring this many goals from now until next May.
No, I agree.
So it's going to become a lot more important for the guys behind him, Anderson, Nani, Alberto, to be scoring a lot and contributing goals of their own. So, yeah, I mean, like you mentioned before, that if Immobile didn't play today, Nani could have been there. I think that'd be really interesting to see, a situation where Inzaghi kind of experiments with that position a bit, and particularly now that Caicedo's got this injury, if Immobile is tired, he's got no option really now apart from going to Palombi.
Yeah.
Who I would say Palombi's had, a chance right at the start of the season, and then he was unlucky to get this injury, and he didn't really impress when he did get his chance. But it's worth remembering that the same can be said for Luis Felipe, who's now really impressing us with getting more game time. So I would still like to see Palombi be given a chance because, if you've given the chance to Luis Felipe and he's repaid it, then why wouldn't Palombi do the same? So
absolutely. I believe he's going to have his chances, especially now in the Europe League. And with Caicedo injured, I hope to see Palombi starting. One of the questions, and it's my biggest doubt I have now, is, of course, Felipe Anderson is back now, but he has to get fit. And, of course, you get fit not only training, but even playing. So how do you make that? Lazio still have to win matches, so you cannot start Felipe Anderson just to give him minutes and giving up matches. You have to win it. So how do you balance these things? It's not. I don't think it's gonna be very easy for Inzaghi, especially if Felipe Anderson doesn't come in and pick it up immediately.
Yeah, I'd expect Inzaghi to approach it in a similar way that he has with Nani. He's a bit of an expert now at bringing players back from injury because he's already had to bring so many players back in slowly. But what he's done with Nani is made sure he's got his fitness right and then eased him into the team, given him time off the bench, then extended how much time he's getting off the bench and given him chances from the start in the Europa League. So I'd expect Anderson to be treated in a similar way, but he's such an explosive player that actually I think he could be fast-tracked a bit more, but it's obviously been quite a long-term injury. We've not seen him since pre-season. So I think, obviously the longer you're out, the more time you've got to take to actually make up your match sharpness and so on.
Yeah, that's the thing that worries me a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't think he needs to be in a hurry, though. That's what's accidentally works out quite well here. I think I can safely say accidentally because nobody expected Alberto to play the way he has played this season. So we've ended up with such a good depth of options in that position. So we discussed before if Anderson could play as a right wing back, but I think we have to assume that he'll be used in the number 10 role. So
yeah,
it doesn't there is no hurry here because we've got Alberto and Nani to play across two competitions and who are both two very good options. So Inzaghi doesn't need to be in a hurry about it, doesn't need to risk rushing Anderson back too soon. So that's actually, it's a good position to be in, actually.
I think he's going to start from the Europe League. But again, I would love to see Palombi as well. Do you play Palombi, Nani and Felipe Anderson all together in Europe League? You give them a try?
Yeah, why not? I mean, like I said before, we've got nothing to lose now. We've won the group, so obviously you want to maintain a winning run as long as you can because you don't know the impact any defeat could have. So they'll still be wanting to win these games, but it does allow Inzaghi to be experimental. So I think there's nothing stopping him, doing it. I think it's been impressive already that how much he's experimented in the Europa League, and still we're in this position where we've won all 4 games, which I believe we're the only team in the competition who've done that. Despite playing Nice twice, we've done that despite playing the best team in the group twice already. When I say the best team in the group, I mean the highest ranked of the 3 that we're up against. So yeah, I think he can be experimental, but he'll still be looking to win those games.
Don't know if you saw it, but Alessandro Rossi yesterday scored twice with Salernitana. And especially the second one was a very nice goal. So he scored his first 2 professional goals, which is a good start.
Yeah, it's definitely encouraging. And, if we've talked about, last Sunday, I suppose, after the Benevento game, we've talked about the pros and cons of sending your young players out on loan. So hopefully Rossi can build on that because you don't want to just send youth players off to Serie B and never hear from them again. But, I mean, Serie B this year is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So, hopefully he can continue to do well there. And, Salernitana is a team that we should probably be having a look at and hoping they do well, just because so many Lazio players can end up there to get experience. So
yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that Adamonis is not playing. He saved even a penalty a couple of weeks ago, so I was expecting that he could get the starting job, but he's still on the bench. By the way, it's not official, but the 2 dates where Lazio can recover the match against Udinese is 13th of December or otherwise the 24th of January. It could be the 13th of December. It depends on the Coppa Italia match. Udinese is playing against Perugia the 13th of November. So if they win, then probably the 13th of December won't be available, and so Lazio will play the 24th of January. Which it's good because there's not the Europe League in that period, so Lazio is not playing that much in January.
Yeah, and also it's after winter break, so I suppose hopefully there's a more kind of refreshed team at that stage of the season. I think playing in December would be, trying to kind of shoehorn another fixture into what's an already busy list. And I've just got my calendar up here, and you can see that the 13th of December comes between league games at home to Torino and away to Atalanta, 2 very difficult league games.
Yeah.
So, and just before that Torino game is the final Europa League game too against Zulte Waregem, which is away as well. So it's a trip away to Belgium. So, yeah, hopefully it's not the 13th of December, because I think that's putting quite a lot of pressure on the team at a difficult stage.
And maybe in January, Felipe Anderson and Nani would be fully fit, and so they can give better options, which would be better for Inzaghi to, variate, give a chance to other players as well. I was watching Napoli today as Lazio didn't play, and I was noticing that the front 3 are playing all the time. Callejon, Martens, and Insigne are always there, always starting. And it's not a surprise that today they didn't do that much. I mean, even Immobile is not playing Europe League, while in Champions League they're all 3 starting. So they don't have that rest. And my fear is that they're going to be destroyed in January, February. So thinking about Lazio and thinking about how much Immobile and Luis Alberto are playing, because we're talking a lot of Immobile, but Luis Alberto is playing even more than him. Mm-hmm. So it's good if they can have a break. Now, probably Immobile is more unreplaceable than Luis Alberto, especially now that Felipe Anderson is back. But still, he needs to have a break to recover, because we saw Nani. He's not at the same level of Luis Alberto now, and we don't know how Felipe Anderson is going to come back. So I think that Inzaghi should take care, let's put it like this, of Luis Alberto, especially now he's been called in the national squad.
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, it's fantastic that he's getting, getting a well-deserved credit for how well he's played. But at the same time, you do just sit a bit nervously at this stage when your best players go off on an international break, just hoping they don't get any injuries. And well, the one thing which is kind of surprising, but I would say quite good in the end, is that Stefan de Vrij hasn't got into the Dutch squad. Now, I'm not really sure why. Wesley Hoot's in there, surprisingly. But they're coming over here. They're coming to play Scotland. They've just got a couple of friendlies. I think they're then playing Romania. So I was surprised to see de Vrij not being called up to that squad. But when you're talking about the players who are having a lot of games with Lazio, Stefan de Vrij is one of them as well, and he's been so crucial to how well we've done this season, that it's quite a relief actually to know that this next kind of week, 10-day period, he's going to be able to rest rather than travelling all around the world just to take part in some at the end of the day meaningless friendlies.
Yeah, in that terrible country. Who would go?
Yeah, well, they're going up to Aberdeen, so
But But seriously, I think one of the secret, let's call it like that, about the great performance of Lazio is De Vrij. And it's not because of De Vrij. It's, if you think last year, how many times Inzaghi had to sub De Vrij during the match? How many times De Vrij had to go out because the knee was hurting a little bit, the muscle, etc. I remember a goal in the Coppa Italia Derby at the end of the first half that Inzaghi said that he was injured and he asked him to stay a little bit more, and that's why they got the first goal. And other matches where De Vrij had to get off because he was feeling pain, etc. This year, he's finishing all the matches, which is a good sign. He's not feeling any pain, and you can see it. You can see it on the pitch. He's not scared. He's not concerned of doing things, and it's a big difference. It's a huge difference because I still believe that without injury, De Vrij is one of the top center defenders in Serie A, and I believe that's one of the secrets of Lazio. If De Vrij is fit, if De Vrij can play 95 minutes, you can see that Lazio defense is much, much better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been fantastic this season. I think as well as his own performances and his own form, it's also, he just seems to have a presence. I think the other defenders play well when he's beside them because he's so reliable. He's quite a calming presence, obviously very experienced by now as well. So I think he's been a great influence on the other defenders as well, because we've already mentioned Luis Felipe and how impressive he's been. And one of the things I liked the most about his performance against Nice was just how composed he was. On the ball, he was picking out passes. He wasn't scared to play out from the back, which, you know, is obviously quite a risky thing, because if you make a mistake, then everybody's going to be criticising you. And he looked very kind of composed and calm on the ball, and I think that kind of almost reminded me of the way that Stefan de Vrij plays. So I was wondering how much of an influence he's had on Luis Felipe. So.
Something we have to say about Luis Felipe is that his ball skill is amazing. He could play as a midfielder. He has really good ball. He has really good control of the ball. And I believe I saw it the first time during a friendly this summer. Maybe it was against Spal, I don't remember. He took the ball on the midfield and dribbled past a couple of players, and he was in the box of the other team scoring. So he has really good ball control, which in this new football is very important to have a defender who is able to start the play, you know, passing the ball correctly, etc. So Luis Felipe is very useful for that. But I think one of the biggest difference is De Vrij is a leader. When he's in the pitch, you can see that confidence of the rest of the defenders is higher because De Vrij guides them. You know, he's the leader of the defense, and it's not only words. You know, he makes a difference with the presence, and I believe all the defenders near him are getting advantage about that.
Yeah, and don't forget Strakosha too, who's a very young and experienced goalkeeper. So I think De Vrij is probably having a good influence on Strakosha too. I think in terms of Felipe's, you know, skills on the ball, I think that's been something that's been absolutely key to Lazio's you know, style of playing it out from the back this season, has been how good all the defenders have been on the ball. Bastos has really impressed me. I think that's the side of his game that I think has come along a lot this season. Actually, is his kind of passing and composure. De Vrij's obviously always been good with his feet. Felipe's been good. Radu is solid there as well. So, you know, there aren't any kind of old school defenders in this team anymore, I would say, you know, who are kind of there to be a physical presence and head the ball away and clear it. I think all of them are quite intelligent and are willing to get their heads up and look for a pass and to actually build an attack from, rather than just kind of clearing their lines.
Don't you think that sometimes Bastos is too confident when he has the ball, etc.? A couple of times I thought, what is he doing? This is too dangerous.
Not quite to the same standard of Wallace, who could we forget what he did in the Rome derby last season? But
who can forget that?
I think he's hopefully at least learned a lesson from that. I don't know. I don't mind players showing confidence, and I don't think you can really criticise it until a mistake's been made necessarily. So I think I can see what you mean, but he's not, as far as I can remember, made any high-profile errors this season. No. So I think I've been quite impressed by that.
By the way, Wallace and Felipe Anderson should be able to rejoin the group after this break. But you know what match is coming. Would you give them a chance of starting that match? I don't think so.
No, absolutely not. Definitely not Wallace, because the defence has been really consistent recently. Well, the whole team has. It's the same team picked today has been playing for quite some time now. So I don't think anything needs changed. I think it's a great option to have off the bench, obviously, Felipe Anderson particularly, but I'd be surprised to even see him off the bench, to be honest. It obviously depends how the game goes, because, like you say, if Lazio are in a position where needing goals, then Inzaghi could just throw caution to the wind and throw everybody on. So, but no, I think for a game as big as that, I would expect the team to remain the same consistent 11 that's been picked in all the Serie A games recently.
But having Felipe Anderson, you can have that option, like we saw with Lukaku coming in the last 20 minutes with his pace, making the difference. That could be an option for Felipe Anderson.
Yeah, that's true. That's true as well. I mean, that's. I think because it's a Rome derby, I would expect Lulic to start in that game. But Lukaku, that's becoming more and more of a selection issue for Inzaghi. I think is Lukaku staking a claim to be starting at left wing back. I don't know. I mean, he was a real threat against Nice as well on Thursday. If we're talking about players who impressed, I think the problem with Lukaku is sometimes the end product. He's so powerful and he gets down the line, and he's always willing to take on defenders, which I really like about him. But sometimes he's not picking out the right pass or the right cross. Kind of reminds me of Keita, actually, a couple of years ago, who could beat players but often wouldn't be able to finish. So
I agree with you, but especially on Thursday, I thought Caicedo wasn't making the right move. He was often late when Lukaku was there to cross the ball, so he didn't have a lot of options there, and was one of the things that most made me upset of the Caicedo performance on Thursday. But Lukaku is simply amazing. When he starts running, you feel that he can become dangerous every time, and that's simply amazing. Last year he was one of the secret, let's call it like that, of Inzaghi to win the derby. So I believe that if he's fit, he can start in the next derby. One of the things we didn't talk about is that Milinkovic has been called in the national squad, and I think they're playing in China. And
finally,
and China and Luis Alberto as well. So Lazio will have a lot of key players playing the national team just before the derby. It's true that Nainggolan has been called for the Belgium squad, but I'm more concerned about the Lazio player, not about the others.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a problem that every top team has to contend with, though, is losing players for international breaks. But it's a good thing. I mean, obviously you can worry about the distance travelled or injuries they might pick up, but at the same time, the reason that they're away doing that is because they've been playing so well for Lazio. So, I think modern day footballers are used to the idea of travelling long distances. So I doubt that would be something that would play a part in their performance. At least I hope not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's hope so. I was curious to see, if Immobile plays today, if Ventura's going to play him, because we know that there was the risk that Immobile couldn't start today because he wasn't fit, he was a little bit tired. So I hope he doesn't play too much in the national squad, but Ventura, it's thinking he has to give Immobile a chance to win. So I feel.
Well, the thing is, I mean, Italy aren't in the position of being able to put their feet up, obviously, and play some friendly matches. This is the World Cup on the line for Italy. So actually, Ventura's in a position where he's going to be willing to risk Immobile's fitness. That's the most concerning thing, because for him, he needs Italy to obviously get through this playoff against Sweden, and in order to do that, he's going to have to play his best striker, which is Ciro Immobile. So I think, if it comes to, say the Rome derby and Immobile's fitness was in doubt, Inzaghi would probably start with him anyway, because he would know how big the game is and how important it is, and that's the position Ventura's in now. So that's kind of worrying thing, is that if Immobile's not quite right, Ventura could easily still pick him to play, because he needs his goals,
Yeah, I know. Let's hope so. Nothing happens, because to be honest, this at the moment is the only unreplaceable player Lazio have, especially with Casado out, with Nani's form, and considering it's the derby. I wouldn't play Palombi. So really, this is the most worrying thing for Lazio in the 2 next weeks.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed, I suppose. I mean, usually it's okay. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how these guys perform for national teams as well. How that translates to international football and form. So I'm sure you'll be watching those games closely, Vittorio, the Italy-Sweden games.
If I'm not, if I don't have to, I'll try to avoid it. Yeah, we'll watch it only for Ciro, just to see he doesn't get injured. I think we can wrap it up here, as Lazio didn't play. We don't have other things to say, I believe. I think we can close it here. Crossing fingers for all our Lazio players that will play next week around the world. There's even Strakosha we didn't mention. So plenty of Lazio players in the national squad, which, as you were saying, is a great sign, because it's proving that Lazio's playing so well that all the players are getting recognition at an international level. So it's good to see players, Lazio players called by the national squad. But I won't hide and say that I'm really happy that De Vrij hasn't been called. That's really good.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who we're going to need, obviously, this season. And so if he can just, lie down, maybe go for a swim, enjoy himself a bit. But that's the extent of what I want Stefan De Vrij to do during this international break.
Yeah, I totally agree with you this time. Thank you very much, Alasdair. Lazio's not playing this Sunday again, but we're going to be here again doing a sort of recap of the beginning of the season. So we're going to talk about what's the player of the season so far, biggest surprise, biggest disappointed, and things like that. So we're going to tweet in the next days all our categories and things like that. So get in touch. Tell us what you think. Who is your player of the season for the moment? The surprise, the disappointing. And we're going to talk next Sunday, again live. Subscribe to our Spreaker channel on iTunes, please. If you have a little bit of time, rate us on iTunes. It's really, really important for our podcast. And thank you very much. And talk to you next Sunday. Bye, Al.
Bye-bye. Looking forward to it.
And there it is. It's Lazio's moment.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. Remember, you can follow Lazio Lounge on Twitter and Facebook. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spreaker and YouTube. And always, Forza Lazio.
I'll tell you what, Lazio will be drinking copiously.